Good afternoon. My name is Daniel, and you're here for English. Today, we are going to be talking about the present perfect tense, and we are going to be trying to learn this and apply this to a police report. So, our goal over the next 3 lessons is going to be creating our own police report with various details. However, we are going to do so with the help of our good friend, grammar. It's everyone's favorite thing to do. However, the grammar here is very essential. For some people, it will be a refresher, but essentially, you need to know this for two main forms, and these forms are going to be present perfect and the passive, including the present perfect in the passive. We'll be looking at that, trying to work it out, and trying to learn how to use it appropriately. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, we have here, I'm a bit of a boomer, let's see, and it's working perfectly fine. So, we today here will be looking at this particular report right here. If you want to cheat, the gym one's right over here, and we'll be learning about the present perfect with the help of our good website, englishhilfen.de. So, what we want to do now is first read this, understand what on earth is going on, and then apply this to the present perfect. Also, question, would this still happen? Like this happened in 2022. I never met this student. I do, however, know students who knew this student and they all said it wasn't a surprise. So, let's go through, let's read this text. Let's try to understand it first. And yes, these questions that I will be asking you will be going into the Kahoot quiz. So pay attention. So, the administrative court has ruled in an expedited procedure that a police officer in training can be dismissed for occasional cannabis consumption in 2022. In 2024, I don't know. Let me know. I would very much so like to know. The applicant has been in preparatory service for the Senior Police Service of the State of Berlin since April 2019 as a civil servant on probation. Due to increased absences due to illness and exemptions from sport, the applicant was examined by a police doctor. A urine sample suggested tetrahydrocannabinol THC abuse, which led the police doctor to declare him permanently unfit for police service and question his ability to remain abstinent. When asked about this THC level, the applicant admitted to occasional use of cannabis. He was then dismissed with immediate effect due to a lack of a health suitability and considerable doubts about his character suitability for police profession. The Fifth Chamber rejected the urgent application against this. So, this is from the police officer in training. He tried to have this thrown out and it was rejected. There are no objections to the assumption that the applicant is unfit for medical reasons. According to the police officer, the occasional consumption of the THC can lead to concentration problems, a lack of self-assessment, perception problems, and impaired motor coordination, which is why the applicant is not allowed to drive a surface vehicle or carry a weapon. Yeah, this could be a problem. I strongly imagine this being a problem. The physical limitations described rule out the applicant fulfilling the duties of a police officer in the prison service. The required 1 year abstinence has not been proven. There are also understandable doubts about the applicant's suitability in terms of character. As a police officer, he is particularly obliged to behave in a law-abiding manner and must align his conduct both on and off duty. With this, however, the applicant is suspected of having committed an offence under the Narcotics Act. I think this is where you get out your BTM gear book and figure out if that is still the same. Despite the impunity of consumption, a drug user regularly commits an offence due to the preceding acts of acquisition, importation, or possession. Okay, so this is where I take this away. And I will be, of course, sending you guys the links to these websites. So, let's comprehend what on earth we just read. So, question number 1. This particular person has been training for how long? Since when was this person a student trying to become a police officer? Was this since April 2019, March 2019, February 2019, or January 2019? This should be obvious. Then we want to know, what was his answer when he was caught having THC? Was he caught taking THC from a DNA swab sample, from a hair sample, from a urine sample, or from something else? And also we want to know, was he an occasional user of marijuana, a frequent user, or seldom using cannabis? And last but not least, we want to know, why was he let go? Was he let go because he would be dangerous in using his weapon? Because he is dangerous using his service vehicle, a car? Is it dangerous because he would not be able to make good decisions while being a active police officer? Or is it all of the above? Okay. You should now be finished checking. You should now have your answers. So, long story short, this text is very, very interesting at explaining facts. It is particularly designed here to be useful in comprehending a report. This is literally a report from a Gericht. And what's interesting is, if you pay attention to it, it's using very particular vocabulary and style. If we go over here, you'll note that there is 3 main forms being used to report. It's using present perfect, the grammar form. It's using this. We will be looking at that in another lesson. And it is using simple past. It's also using plusquamperfect, but we're not going to talk about that. Just know this is a thing. It's a grammar tense that you use to say this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Had been, it's just saying this happened before he was caught taking marijuana, but we're not learning about this today. We are going to be learning about the simple past, because I'm sure you'll notice there's lots of simple past here. And then we go over here and we see, what tense do you guys use the most in German? And you'll very quickly realize German actually has 3 tenses for reporting. And you only use it for reporting. So, entlassen werden kann. Oh, that sounds like this. Keep this in mind. We'll be looking at it later. But we see hat entschieden. So that looks exactly like present perfect in German. Oh, so you guys use it in the same way, right? Wrong. And we notice this very quickly when we look at the rest of the words being used to report. Befand. I'm sure you guys say that every day. Wurde. Ließ. Stellte. Räumte. Ooh, that's a fun one. Wurde again. Wies. Begegne. That's another fun one. Führen. Dürfe. Keep this one in mind. And könne. Erfülle. Oh, I forgot one. Schlössen es aus. Ausschließen. Schlössen es aus. Schlössen. I might be saying that one wrong. Verpflichtet. Auszurichten. Okay, that's normal. Strafbar mache. Oh, and we have another one in present perfect. Gemacht habe. Fantastic. Strafbar mache. Okay, let's talk about these forms really quick because I want you guys to understand. A big problem that Germans have is understanding German grammar equals English grammar. Some of the time, but not all the time. Here in German, these words would only be namely used in a written form, in a written report. It's very unlikely that they say, gestern aß ich eine Pizza, dann sah ich meine Frau, dann ginge ich mit meiner Frau ins Park, dann tranke ich mit meiner Frau ins Park einen Kaffee. Like, no one says that. But you would in English. You would say, yesterday I went to the park. I ate a pizza. I drank a coffee with my wife. So on and so forth. The big difference here is that in English, we use it because of the word yesterday. English is weird. When it comes to grammar, it actually matters more about the time words that you use in a sentence. Simple past in German is used for reporting. It is used in written form. It can be used in normal English and normal German, but then you sound like you're Goethe or Schiller or, in an old time TV show. In English, we use it all the time for stating that something is finished. I'll repeat that again. Simple past is used for saying that something is finished, specifically the time. Yesterday, 100% finished. Last week, finished. Last month, last year. Anything along these lines, we'd be using it. We would be using the simple past to mention that something is finished. Now, this is different in German. In German, you would just use present perfect. Gestern habe ich eine Pizza gegessen. Maybe you would then say, ich sah meine Frau oder ich habe meine Frau gesehen. Dann ich bin mit meiner Frau ins Park gegangen, so on and so forth. And this is where we run into the big problem with the present perfect. Present perfect is different to the German version of present perfect in two ways. One, we don't use it to say that something's finished. We use it to say that something started in the past and is not yet finished. This could be to say it happened immediately. The time that you're using, the time word that you're using is in a today's situation, but it indicates that it started at another point in the past. And the other big one is that English uses Hilfsverben different to German. So if we go over here, we say hat entschieden. And the other one, where was it? That's not it. Okay. What about bin? No. Ist. It's somewhere here. We saw it here. Gemacht habe. Okay. There we go. Gemacht habe. So, this also brings us to my next point. We're going to talk about that in a second. The present perfect in English is always going to use has. I don't think there's too many other examples in here. Everything's being used in simple past. There's another sentence somewhere around here. Anyway, in German, you mostly use Hilfsverben to indicate if something is a flexible verb or inflexible. That's the main rule from memory. But in German, you can use either sein oder haben as your Hilfsverb for the present perfect. For example, you would always say, ich habe getrunken. Ich habe etwas getrunken. Ich habe etwas gesehen. But you can also say, ich bin gegangen. You would never say, ich habe etwas gegangen or ich habe gegangen. That doesn't work. You could say, ich bin getrunken, but that changes the meaning entirely. The main thing to focus on here is that the present perfect in English always have the auxiliary have or has. What do we do then with sein? What do we do with to be then? Keep this in mind, we'll be using it later. So, let's pause. Okay, let's continue. So, as we see here, this is taken from this website here, English Hilfen, and it has some nice, clear examples of the use of present perfect, but it also has good examples of it being used in its regular form. Specifically, ends with ed, always uses have or has. If you want to know why it's called present perfect, it has two words. One is always in the present tense, have or has, and the other one is always in the perfect form, present perfect. That's basically the logic behind it. Present perfect also often uses irregular forms. We don't have time to go into those. I'm sure you've learnt them. I think the one that everyone knows that's irregular is been, which is another auxiliary, but we'll talk about that later. So, present perfect always uses have or has as the auxiliary verb, and never uses to be, and it is almost always used to talk about things that started in the past. This explains it a little bit, that something has happened. In this case, there is no time word. I would have said this, I have cleaned my room today, which are indicating that the start of the time when you cleaned started already and is not yet over. For example, today is not yet over, but it will be tomorrow. This is the other one that everyone knows, the classic recently happened. I just played handball, I just finished this. And it often will be used with has. The other time that we use it is often to refer to life events. And this is called a state. And these states will begin in the past and are still going on. For example, I have lived in Germany since a particular period in time. I'm not telling you. But I have lived in Germany. When I leave Germany, then I would say I lived in Germany for a particular period of time. But long story short, this is another one where Germans will get tripped up on because you don't do the same in German. Repeat after me because I'm sure you know the song. Ich war noch niemals auf New York. Ich war noch niemals in Hawaii. And so on and so forth. In this case, you're using this simple past in German. Why? I don't know. I blame the old school Romans. In English, you would say, I have never been to New York, or I have never lived on Hawaii. Why is this? Well, it's time. And this particular time is your life. So I have a quick question for you all. Are you dead? No? Then your time started in the past and is not yet finished. Which is why when you refer to your life and your life experiences, I have never played the piano. I have never gone to New Zealand. I have never drunk coffee in my life. Often referring to these things, the words in my life is not mentioned, but this is what you're indirectly referring to, which is why it's said in the present perfect. The time is not finished, but it started in the past. Okay, let's go back. And then we have other key time words or signal words. And these are the ones that we want to look at. Since and for. There's a lot of ones here like recently, lately. This will work fine. I have lately been studying German a lot. I have lately seen a lot of cartoons, whatever. This in particular will work rather nicely. In this particular case, these signal words are merely the words that let you know, oh, time to use present perfect. Again, in English, we use it with present perfect because of the time word, not because of anything else quite often. other than it is a time that is not finished. And these signal words indicate that the time is not finished. Started in the past, still ongoing. Other words that they do not mention in this particular list: today, this week, this month, this year, this life. Anything like this that is not yet over, we would then use with the present perfect. For example, yesterday I saw Iron Man 3. I have seen Iron Man 3 this week. What's the difference? I said yesterday for the first one. I saw Iron Man 3 yesterday. I have seen it this week. This week is not yet over. Another very good example is when we talk about birthdays. Or this morning. This morning is another one. For example, if it is the morning, you would say, I've had 3 cups of coffee this morning. Okay, fine. Right now it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or almost 2 o'clock. So I would say, this morning I drank 3 cups of coffee. Well, yes, it's a lot of coffee, but that's what I have done today. Again, referencing the time is the most key important, the key indicator of whether you're using present perfect or not. So, why do we use it here? We use it here primarily for the police form. In this particular case, a lot of this is going to be in the simple past because they're simply saying what happened, this happened, then this happened, then this happened. However, when it comes to completed statements that have happened recently, then we would use present perfect. Okay, it's been 22 minutes, so let's take a brief break and then we come back and we will talk about using this text.